Good morning. We are back with our fourth and final for this school year, Superintendent Sit Down with Dr. Glenn White. It has been a wonderful time doing this with everyone and sharing updates and answers and really working with our teacher of the year, our teacher advisories. What an incredible group of teachers that we've had the chance to speak with. Yesterday, they had great questions and comments and really just a positive group of professionals that I've really enjoyed working with through this platform. And I've really enjoyed coming to this beautiful facility and filming these podcasts. So thank you to the CCA and Mr. Rick Williams for that as well. We'll go ahead and get started unless you have.
No, good morning. And I've enjoyed doing this so much, and I'll have to be transparent and be honest. I didn't even know what a podcast was until Brooke introduced that to me. And we appreciate the CCA and what they've done in hosting us. So thank them. And it's just great to be here today.
Absolutely. So we'll just dive right on in. And before we really get into the questions that were submitted, can we just go over back in February, I believe, we had a work session with our Board of Education and with some principals. And there were some items discussed, some possible supplement increase proposals, and then the incentive for attendance that was actually brought up from this group.
Yes.
Can we talk about the updates on that?
Yes. Now, we have talked with the board for the FY25, next year's budget. We have mentioned an increase in the local supplement from 8% to 8.5%. We've also included a 2% raise for our classified employees. And then we've talked about the attendance incentive, which came from our teacher advisory committee, where if they had perfect attendance, they could actually have the last 2 days off of post-planning. So those are things we will definitely look at for next year. Now, I want to make sure everyone understands the board, the Floyd County Board of Education, has to approve our budget. Right. These are items we're looking at, we're discussing. But just like in your own personal budget, you got to balance income with revenue, and actual expenses have to balance up with those kind of things. So that's what we're looking at. We're hoping we can implement all that for next year. Now, I feel pretty sure about the attendance incentive. We're pretty sure about that. But the others, I think, will happen, but we need board approval for that.
Good deal. And just a very quick reminder and breakdown, I know it can be confusing for just the average person, and I'm still learning, and you said yesterday you're still learning, but how our budget works. And I know we've talked about it, and there's still some questions with, well, why can't we compare with Bartow, and what is that? What are we truly able to offer here in Floyd County? And there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Okay, and those are great questions, and it can be confusing. And so I just left a meeting. I was meeting with Rome City Schools, Darlington, and we're all talking about the same kind of things. And this came up, the supplement from other school systems and the fact that Bartow offers a higher local supplement. Bartow is actually competing with Cobb, Marietta City, Paulding County, and their supplements are higher than ours. Why? And I think the question is, why do they offer a higher supplement? This is based on the property values in your county. And if you think about what's going on inside Bartow County with all the growth and the industry they've, drawn in, it allows them to offer a higher supplement because they are making more money from the property tax. They are able to generate more dollars based on property tax. Also remember, going right through the middle of Bartow and Cobb County, we have I-75, which is a wonderful asset when it comes to eSPLOS dollars, and all those things it generates from sales tax, which is not necessarily part of the property tax, but it ties into the overall tax system of the county. So long story short, a mill, which is how we levy taxes, in Bartow County will generate more money than a mill in Floyd County. Now, another example would be that a one mill in Floyd County would generate more money than one mill in Chattooga County.
Right.
So it varies.
It's like a domino effect, depending on where you are.
Yes, exactly. Okay. But once again, this is not an easy concept. The property tax will become more complicated as these new laws are passed. There's some laws that will be on the ballot for the November ballot that concern property tax and personal items and those kind of things, as far as taxes that will be, in my opinion, everybody's probably going to vote for it when they see it says something like this will reduce your property tax, and these kind of things. I think at that point they're going to be voted in, so we're going to have to be ready to deal with that.
Well, and just hearing that, and then looking at what we've done this year along with our budget and investments that we've done for our school system with our fine arts programs, with our new curriculum for elementary, with the new literacy law. Also you got to take into consideration the insurance changes for classified staff, and keeping our coaches and academic interventionists, and still being able to propose a supplement for our teachers. So I think that's just being good stewards of our money financially. So really great job there with our board and you, Dr. White. So we're continuing to look forward in that regard and just understanding how the different tax brackets play a huge part in that. So a Jeans update was sent to our principals, so make sure that we get that word out. So great news there. Moving right along to our questions. And Mr. John Parker has actually been at a letters training this week, but we were able to sit down and talk to him about some of these questions. And one of them is about letters. And that is actually being mandated by the state of Georgia with this new literacy law. Teachers, correct me if I'm wrong, will be required to have some sort of the study of reading training.
Yes. Now, Letters is a program that talks about how the brain works and how you learn to read. That's
the science of reading.
Exactly.
Yes.
It is the science of reading. Of course, any kind of learning process involves science.
Right.
It could be math, science, actually biology, whatever. There's a learning process involved in that. Letters is the program, in my opinion, from what I've seen, it is the top-notch program to teach how the brain learns. Now, there are other programs available, and then some of them are online through the State Department. They're offering some of that. But the Floyd County School System is paying for our teachers to go through this training, and our administrators. Our administrators are going through it too. So this is being paid for by the school system. We hope to continue to offer that, but it will get into a situation of how much it costs and where we can budget to pay for those things.
And there were some questions just yesterday, I guess. It is a lot of work. It is training, and it is the requirement with this new literacy law. In fact, there are some colleges offering this as a class now.
Yes, they do.
Which means our teachers who are in the buildings now are not getting that opportunity. So Floyd County Schools is providing that for our teachers right now. And because that it does take time and it is a lot of work, and I've seen our administrators working on it and our central office administrators who are participating as well working on it. There were 4 additional planning days provided for teachers with letters in mind.
Yes.
So this year that started, or maybe last year that began.
It actually started last year.
Okay.
Our students are going to school 176 days. Teachers are paid for 190. So we have 14 planning staff, or it's planning and staff development, which would be letters. That's why we added additional days. As far as, these professional development activities, we will include that in. It helps us as far as not having subs and not having to pay for substitute teachers and those kind of things. And then the training is done during those days. All of it can't be done in that time because there's more to it, but we want to get the bulk of it in those days.
And I think this is a program where we've already looked at, I believe, about $200,000 in investing directly into our teachers, and then that invests straight to our students. So really making our teachers more, experienced and helpful for our students, more marketable, having more of that on their resume. It's a really great opportunity, and it's mandated. So, but what was important and what was great to share with this group is our teachers in the Teacher of the Year yesterday had really great things to say. They were like, it is a lot of work, but a couple of them spoke up and said, it's helped me in my first grade classroom. It's helped me with my third graders. So I'm excited to see where that can go for our kids.
Oh, I think it's great. We just got to continue to invest in our teachers. And I think our teachers get better, and it helps our students. I think it's a domino effect involved in that. So.
Right. Speaking of investing in our teachers, one of the questions is, retention is a huge conversation in the world of education, and I really just think in the workforce in general right now.
Yes, it is.
But focusing on our teachers here in Floyd County Schools, one of the questions was, what are we doing to retain our teachers? And so I spoke with Mr. Jason Brock and kind of got some data for this, and this year, right now, we're actually hiring 42% less teachers than in years past and directly last year. And he said right now that's on the high end. It could be a lot higher number, meaning less teachers. But just some of the things, letters offering that. Some school systems are not able to do that. That's important for us. The Berry opportunity that we've provided to have teachers advance their degree and their leadership programs. We do realize it is an issue and it is of importance to us. We put it in our strategic plan. So I know our data team, our HR team, our principals, you are constantly evaluating things that we can continue to offer for our teachers to help in that regard. So that is a continuous evaluation and a goal of ours to continue to improve on. So just a couple of...
And we want to retain teachers because we know the more experience usually means the better teachers. And I'm not saying we love new teachers that are coming into the teaching profession, but if we've got teachers that have been teaching our curriculum for several years, like anything else, you're going to know it better. So we want to retain our good teachers and keep them in our school system. We want to pay our teachers more. We want to support them every way we can in order to eliminate the need for having to go out and recruit teachers. Now, when teachers get to the point they're retiring, I mean, that's their time of life. They're ready to retire and, do something else. So those kind of things. But as far as just leaving us, we want to keep those good teachers with us.
Yes, absolutely. The next question that falls under academics, and we discussed this yesterday, and really Mr. Parker's answer was we can talk with our principals a little bit more and see if there's an option for this. But right now, is there an opportunity to reevaluate the grade breakdown? And the question specifically states it is currently 55% for test and 25% for daily. And I think the conversation yesterday and then from Mr. Parker is that word test really should be assessment.
Yes.
Which could be numerous of things. And that's to the teacher's discretion where they feel like their students can succeed by obtaining the curriculum to their best interest. So whether that be a paper or several tickets out the door of assessing and understanding the curriculum and the content or the standards in place. So not necessarily like a multiple choice test every week, but different assessments for that knowledge. So, and that can be a conversation and making sure that message is clear and looking at that. Moving into nutrition, there was a question for Ms. Deborah Williams yesterday about the breakfast in the primary school offering sugar-filled choices, and her team do a fabulous job. And basically, she actually emailed me right before we sat down a USDA update. There is an Action for Healthy Kids put in place that they've already done that. Currently, right now, federal regulations come in every 3 to 5 years to review their menu, to review the cafeteria, and they already offer limited sugary options. The question was, they are afraid that this could affect student learning if they have too much sugar. But that's regulated and it's limited. But with this Action for Healthy Kids, there's going to be 2 phases. Starting in fall of 25 and fall of 27, they're looking at eliminating even more sugar and even more sodium in the food. So they are constantly working with our USDA and our Georgia nutrition programs for that as well.
And evaluating our menus and how it meets the criteria from the USDA and those kind of things.
It's kind of like our state health inspection, which, speaking of, all of our cafeteria ladies and nutrition workers scored excellent scores on their reviews. So kudos to you and thank you for all your hard work there. That was really great.
Oh, we have a great school nutrition staff. Deborah Williams does a fantastic job for us. And her whole staff, all of our lunchroom ladies, just do a fantastic job.
They do.
We appreciate it.
And our kids love them too. They're a great smiling face.
They do. They really do.
Moving into facilities, I know that we had a great conversation yesterday about facilities. One of the questions kind of comes from probably most of you all saw a Rome News Tribune article earlier this week, just simply about a discussion about some options we're looking at because the question has been, will we have more custodial help? And that is, a continuous question that Mr. Worsham's bringing up. We mentioned earlier, it's just the workforce in general, trying to find good, solid workers that we can maintain and stay to our standards and do a good job for our schools, and custodial is one. He shared yesterday that in total, we have 58 positions on the custodial or facility side. We are down 16 positions around the county.
Yes.
Since January, we've lost 14. So I know that with the supplement increase proposal for classified, which would include our facility staff,
it would.
That's options we're looking at exploring. I know we've looked at the cleaning crew and different things. There are options we're evaluating. One of those is something that I know the state of South Carolina has looked at, maybe some even in the Atlanta area, and it was the cleaning robots.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and how it simply is a discussion right now, but how that would benefit this need?
Okay, so we are looking at these robots who would clean, and one of the ladies yesterday in our teacher advisory staff, she said, was that like the cleaning robots machines that are like at Walmart and Sam's?
Yes.
And I said, yes, that's what they are. So we're looking at those. This company has a sweeper that sweeps up the floor, and then it has a scrubber. And we've seen these robots demonstrated. They had a demonstration at Model High School. And in fact, we did it when kids were in the hall. We wanted to see how this would work. And the machine stopped. When a student walks up, it just stops. And it won't move until that area is cleared out. It's very high tech. Mm-hmm. And so I think the situation as far as what came out in the paper, and I want to compliment the Rome News. I thought they did a fantastic job of explaining what we were doing. We're looking at this option to help supplement what our custodians are doing. We're not trying to totally eliminate custodians. We're trying to provide them with a tool that will help them do their job. And we are struggling to fill custodial positions. And the meeting I just left this morning, it was with the chamber, other community, because the article in the paper, I'll be honest with you, that got a lot of attention. That came up while I was in the meeting this morning. And the other people in the room were like, we're having the same trouble. Mm-hmm. We can't get custodians. We can't keep them. And one other person who has the same kind of interest I do, he said, look, we're looking at that too. And he said, I'm glad you jumped out there and got the attention for it. So
taking one for the team there.
Yeah, he said, I kind of saw what you got. But we are looking at this mainly to keep our schools clean. We're not trying to, eliminate custodial jobs. If we have good custodians, we're going to keep those.
Absolutely.
People. So I think that might have been part of it. And then as you look at the cost and the fact, like we have at this point 16 open positions, we can pay for those machines off the salaries that we would be paying for those custodians because we can't find people to take the jobs.
There's no one to replace, essentially.
Yes, and so that's where these machines come into that situation as far as being able to help us.
And I know there's lots of questions that still need to be answered as far as like maintaining them and where we will get. But from what I gathered from that, it's kind of like it's the world we live in with technology.
Yes, it is.
And I know that can be some scary for some, and I totally get it. But it's just like with this new AI and helping supplement with some, I guess, job work and everyday things and just different digital things, how everything's going digital. So really just to supplement if there is only one custodian, and I truly value them. We have some great custodians as well as our nutrition.
We do.
But sweeping and mopping is a huge task. So if that can be done overnight while everyone's gone, and then that custodian can come in and check the lights or change doors or fix something that's broken, they have that opportunity as well.
Yes, just take care of general items inside the school rather than worrying about the floors being mopped or swept. Right. The thing about the cleaning machines, the robots, is that they can go continually. Now they have to dock. There's a docking station for them, and then it charges back up. It can actually dump. If it's a sweeper, it will dump out the trash that's picked up. If it's the scrubber, it will actually dump the dirty water and reload and go back out again. They run continually. It is except for the time they have to recharge the batteries and those kind of things.
We have to recharge.
We have to all recharge. So once again, I guess the article in the paper kind of stimulated some thought is that we were doing something to try and eliminate jobs and that kind of stuff, and we're not. Our objective is to keep the schools clean for our children. And that's what we're about. And we also want to keep our good custodians. So I hope that eliminates some of that concern from that side of things. Now, one of the things that's been brought up was the fact that these machines are expensive, and they are. I agree. But when you start looking at those 16 people we have out and the fact that we can pay for these machines and they have a 5-year warranty, in the long run, as far as expense goes, they're actually a better option as far as investment in money and having to spend money, those kind of things.
Okay. I think that clears it up, and obviously still a discussion. Nothing was decided yet.
Yes,
because
we
there's
haven't
still
bought any machines. I want to
Yes.
make sure everybody understands, because I think based on some of the information, they think we've already got them.
Right.
We're still talking about it. I met with the school board this morning. They had other questions concerning the cleaning machines. We're going to get all that answered. We want to research these products and look at other options. Mr. Worsham told me this morning that since this has come out in the paper, we've had companies starting to call us about their machines. We will look at all machines and evaluate those and do the best as far as for the school system and what works best inside our schools.
Perfect. The next question for facilities, and I believe yesterday there was great conversation about the football stadium bleachers, and some of them maybe not being ADA accessible or compliant. And Mr. Worsham said that one school is aluminum and one is concrete, and we're looking at that. Can you give us an update?
Yes, what he's talking about, 3 of our schools, Pepperell, Armurchie, and Coosa, the home side bleachers are concrete.
Right.
Now, the visitor side are aluminum. So we're looking at ways that we can meet ADA requirements as far as offering handicap accessibility. We're working on that at all of 4 stadiums at this point in time, hopefully to have that in place by football season. So that's in the works as I speak. Now, when we start working on the stadiums and the bleachers, those things, that cost a lot of money.
Right.
So those things have to factor into our budget, but he is working on that as far as coming up with a plan to address those issues.
Okay, so that's currently in the works to correct that, because that is important.
Yes, it is.
So the next question was about the new bell system or intercom system, and I believe that's been in the works for a while. It's just taken some time to get to all the schools, and we're finishing that project.
Yes, we are.
Give us an update on why that was done, and just the importance of maintaining that in the schools.
Okay, so our intercom systems actually are old and out of date in our schools, and that's why we started this process of replacing them with the newer systems. And then in addition to that, the intercom systems, they weren't making the parts for them because they're so old. So we were kind of like pushed into a situation where you're going to have to make changes because you're not going to be able to get parts for these old systems. So that's why we moved to the new systems. And like anything else, when you do something new, it takes a little while to get used to that. So we're working through that. And there could be some kinks that need to be addressed as far as the intercom system, and we will do that. But the goal is to replace all of them, and so they'll all be up to date and the most modern we can get.
And I know y'all have been in talk with the principals who might have had questions, but if there are specific questions about the intercom, they can reach out to Mr. Worsham or Keith Brownlow as well.
Keith Brownlow or John Worsham, they'll be glad to talk to them. I know they are addressing some issues inside the school system.
Okay.
And we will. It may just take us some time to get to it, but we will address those issues.
Okay. And then the question was, has there been a thought about doing solar panels on our school buildings?
Mr. Worsham has looked into this, and it's really not feasible for us to use that, and financially it's not a benefit to the school system. So that's not really an option for us at this point in time. Now, if it becomes more financially to our advantage to consider that, we would do it. But at this point in time, it's not.
Okay. Going to move into kind of HR and finance. I'm going to bulk these 2 finance questions together because Star Smith provided an update on that. There was a question about, would it be possible to receive our checks on the last Friday of the month instead of the last day of the month? That is based off the receiving of the reimbursement from the state.
Yes. We get the money from the state for the teacher salaries or whomever, that's where our money comes from. So that's deposited into our account the last day of the month. that's when we have to also pay
Right.
our employees. Now, I know it would be more convenient to get it to last Friday of every month, but we don't actually have the money until the last day.
Yes, now, if it falls on a weekend, I know that's that Thursday or Friday.
If it falls on, let's say, the last day of month's on Saturday or Sunday, you would get it on Friday.
Right. That makes sense. And then the next question was about the new change in your taxes of your paycheck and not hearing back on confirmation. Ms. Starsmith did apologize on the accounting behalf yesterday. They were kind of given a notice just like we all were about this and tried to get that information out as quickly as possible. And so with this change, Ms. Jennifer McClure has done a fantastic job fielding those questions in Munis and updating Munis, because once she gets it, she has to individually check it. And I think Ms. Smith said she's at 500 left that she's got to go through.
Yes,
so
there are a bunch of people who have made changes. In fact, I've made changes to mine.
Yep.
I had to change mine as far as withholding tax and those kind of things. And it's because of the new tax, standards that we had to meet.
Right.
And so they're working on that, and they will get it done.
And she said Miss Jennifer McClure is the one to reach out to if you have specific questions, but she is dealing with this every day right now. And so if it's a couple of days, reach out to Starsmith as well. They'll be happy to help you. As far as HR and sick days, we had a couple of questions about if teachers are allowed to have 1 day of sick leave without having to dip into their sick leave balance or bank, if they have an excused doctor's note. So Miss Stacey Hardy that is mandated by Georgia PSC and our state law. They're the ones who give us and determine the sick leave and the amount and the purpose of sick leave.
Yes, and so I think my interpretation of that question is we want to have a sick day, but not count it against their own personal account, and so we're not able to do that.
Right.
I think it's something interesting to consider, and I had to start researching this situation. From the state under QBE formula, Quality Basic Education Act, how we're funded, we get $150 per teacher per year, which for 1 day, a substitute teacher is $100. So I think about that as a day and a half. The rest of it has to come from local funds.
Right.
So just something to think about.
And there was a question about several years ago, employees being able to roll over up to $500 in their remaining FSA balances. Could this be considered moving forward? And the simple answer to that is our current carrier just does not allow that at this time.
Yes, that's the answer to that. And I understand that'd be great to do.
Yeah. And then another question was about the inclement weather days and how that was documented for exempt or non-exempt. I know Ms. Hardy communicated that with principals and then with their staff. And the question is why it was done that way this year. And she stated, we're always looking on how we can better our documentation processes, but really it's kind of a circumstantial thing. Like sometimes we might have inclement weather in October.
We have.
And you can only go back to August for some or however that may work. And so she hears that question and she understands it, and it's something that she's going to continue to update and look at.
Yes, that will be considered. To be honest with you, I hope we don't have that, because that means a day without kids, and I want our students in the class. So hopefully, but usually once or twice a year, and it could be ice or snow, or it could be the storm moving through, and we've either delayed or we've actually canceled school for the day. I hope we don't have to do that anymore. But we will at some point.
I want some snow, but we won't talk about that.
My wife wants snow. I don't want snow.
Last HR question: why are personal days counted towards the 10 absences before a doctor's note is required? So the state policy and our Floyd Board of Education policy states that any absence outside of FMLA or PPL would count towards an absence.
Yes.
So this is just some general questions that we received. Again, great questions. It was great to hear and speak on these. There was a really interesting, I thought, great question that was asked saying, would it be possible to offer a Spanish class to any interested teachers? And obviously we want to say yes, that would be a great skill. We're always looking at ways to do that. And so we talked to Dr. Timberlake on that and, looking, researching a little bit and just looking at the resources. Like I took 4 years of Spanish in high school and then again at Georgia. I am not fluent in Spanish. And so providing those resources doesn't necessarily make you fluent in Spanish. And so we're not sure at the time if we have the resources to even provide that and if it would be beneficial in the long run and what this would be helpful for our students. But with that, she said they're constantly looking at different ways. Interpreters are allotted to the schools based off their ELL population.
Yes, kind of like going back to the QBE funding formula, based on the number of children who are non-English speakers, and then we are allotted number of positions based off that identified group of students that we
for
have.
Interpreters.
Yes,
and then the county, I believe she mentioned, they're also looking at doing maybe some contract work with additional interpreters that might be needed for conference days or special events.
Yes, those kind of things. Yes, most
so
definitely.
Great question and very interesting, and I would love to look more into that. We just don't have a definite answer right now, and at this time, and what little research we were able to do, we're not able to. So
yes, that's true, but something maybe in the future
correct.
We can do.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, even with this battery plant coming, they could bring more languages for us to have the opportunity to learn.
That would be something I think would be very beneficial, having that, because especially with the opportunity just a few miles, the battery plant's only 4 miles from the Floyd County line.
Right.
They're going to employ people in Floyd County. So if we were able to do that, that would be a great option
just
too.
A thought there. A question about, is it possible to hire nurses full-time at all high schools where students might have chronic medical conditions? And I think this is a two-part answer here.
Yes.
We currently are over our allotment, I guess, going back to that QBE again.
Going back to the formula they use to fund teachers or principals or whatever we're getting funding for. But we are over that allotment, and we're paying for several, and I wish I could tell you the exact number, several nurses more than we're allotted for.
Over $400,000 more comes from the general fund, which nurses are so important and definitely needed. But right now we're over. And on the other side of that, our partners and our friends at Atrium Health, they just said it's hard to get nurses. Just like with work everywhere, it's hard to get nurses. And we can benefit with school nurses because it's convenient for maybe moms or dads who are doing that with their children. But it's just hard to get a committed and good quality school nurse to come and do that role.
Yeah, well, and going back to the labor force issues, and it's across the board for custodians, for nurses, or from whoever you're trying to employ. Now, I think we're blessed right now, teacher-wise. I think we're in good shape. But that is an issue as far as, supplying those positions for nurses and those kind of people. So I don't know, even if we were willing to pay for more, whether we'd be able to get them because they're struggling to find them right now.
This question is about after-school care. Several teachers have kids in after-school care. I do as an employee. And the question is, would we consider not charging daycare costs after school for teachers? Say if you teach at the CCA where we are here and your child is at Garden Lakes and you can't leave here till 3:30, and so you're not able to get there until 4, and you're still paying that amount. Is there conversation or an opportunity to either decrease that or expand the time of pay for employee students? I know that at the school, it's the principal's discretion, say their employees there staying late for a meeting or whatnot. Right. But talk a little bit about that. Is there an opportunity there?
Okay, so all after-school programs in our elementary primary schools are paid for based on who participates, the number of children involved, and the parents are paying it. So that's not really anything that the school system has supplemented as far as offering financial support for. That's the way it was established, 20, 25 years ago, whenever that program came into play. So we have to be able to fund it because the people working have to be paid. So that is an individual discretion as far as how the principals handle that, but it has to be financially stable for us to offer it.
And I know some of the principals and even some of the teachers who I believe have worked after school care, obviously you have to have a ratio just like we would in the classroom. You don't want more students or children with adults. So you have to have enough to staff it. But some of them are even having a hard time keeping the balance up to pay those individuals to work.
We're having, some of them are just barely, making it as far as being able to pay the employees who are doing after-school care. So that's why we've got to be careful with that program. We want to keep that program because I think it's beneficial to parents.
Yes, very beneficial.
So we don't want to lose that program.
Yeah. So it is a thought, and maybe it can be something we speak with the principals about extending the time even, because I think the 3:30 is the cutoff as far as charging or when it starts.
Right.
But right now it's just, we've got to make sure they have enough funds to keep that program going.
Yes, we want to keep the program going. That's the main thing.
And really, Dr. White, the last question is, when you look at the calendar, why have we not considered a 4-day week? And this question is based off, they feel as if this would save us millions of dollars. So why is it not a plausible option right now for Floyd County schools?
Okay, so here's, and I'll go back to John Worsham. He worked in a system where they had that. And they did have savings, not a significant amount, really not to me anyway. You would save on fuel costs. Now, as far as heating and air conditioning, you can't turn those off. I mean, can you cut them down? Yes, you can cut down and as far as how much you're using it, but you still have to have them on. And then when you start reducing the pay of your custodians, of your lunchroom ladies, because they're hourly employees, you're going to make the money off of those people at the lower levels of your school system who make the least amount of money. Now, those are issues, and I think those have to be addressed. I don't think there is a huge significant savings in doing that. My problem with that whole thing is the inconvenience of the parents, because if you have young children, you can't leave them at home. Somebody's got to take care of them. So they're having to make arrangements for those children to be taken care of. So I think that's another issue from a parent perspective.
Right.
But I'm going to come from a superintendent perspective. I'm totally against the 4-day week. That's a day of instruction where I want our students in the school. I think that in a lot of situations, it's best for them to come to school. We feed those children, we love those children, and we take care of them. In some situations, the school is their safest place, and that's why I want them in school.
The next part of that was, has there been any research? Yes. You've talked to and looked at different people in the different neighboring counties, because it is becoming popular in some areas and some parts of the world. For that retention piece that we talked about, I think it's become a popular fan favorite for the teacher retention and having that 4-day week. And I was actually tasked with doing some of that research when I had the calendar job. And there are a lot of factors that have pros and cons, just like with anything you're making a decision on. And right now, and here's one that actually came out in March 24th. I brought it to share in our school administrator. There's all sorts of articles, but there was a whole story done on the 4-day week. And a lot of the factors it talks about, whether it's mixed data or not hardcore data, is with the teacher retention. Yes, a lot of teachers love that, and it's very helpful there. But then a lot of teachers that were interviewed were like, it's a little bit more stressful. It changes things up. I'm a mom. It's hard for me because I'm planning for the week, but I also have children. Some more factors were academics. A lot of it talks about post-pandemic and how the virtual world played a huge effect on their students, and they're afraid keeping them home might affect that. Community hardships, economic development. There are a lot of factors brought into different articles, and there's so many that have different reports and, opinions. And so, yes, research is being done, and for Floyd County schools, and at this time, it's just not where we're going to go.
Yes, I have said this, and I'm going to say it again. If the Floyd County school system goes to a 4-day school week, I will not be the superintendent. That's how strongly I feel. Now, there's some things that I'll negotiate on and be like, okay, I don't agree with that, but I'm going to go along with it. This is not one of them. I'm sold on the fact that this is not good for our students.
Right.
Now, I understand teachers are like, well, I only want to work 4 days a week. Okay, I'm sorry, but I need you 5. And there are systems who have 4-day school weeks. Maybe that's who you need to work for. But for Floyd County school system, I think it's important that we have our students in the school and that we're teaching them on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I love that. So before we wrap up, I do have a couple of things I want to invite everyone to and talk about. We are closing in on 2 weeks of our first annual Camp Fest, or FCS Fest, because guys, camp is Coosa Almergy Model Pepperell. Please love that with me because I just think that's amazing.
Yes, that's a good thing.
But I want to say thank you to Dr. White for supporting this. When I came in and started looking at our strategic plan and some of the things I was given and started tackling, I noticed a huge need for celebration for you all, showing more appreciation to you all and our students and our community.
Yes.
Because it's really kind of like a filter and effect. Our community gives to our teachers give to our students, and we're all in this together. And so this is an opportunity where our local vendors are going to be there. Our local food trucks are going to be there. Different community organizations. We hope you all can come with your families that weekend. Our students and their parents are invited. A day on May 11th from 10 to 2 at the fairgrounds, filled with just celebration, with service recognitions, retiree recognition, longest standing Floyd County employee recognition, Teachers of the Year recognition, student performances, and then we're going to reveal, which is what I'm really excited about, our new mission and beliefs that reflect our strategic plan, and really a new fresh start of where we're going as a school system. Great things truly are happening, and a lot of momentum is picking up. And so we hope you all can join us and have fun and celebrate that day. Something else is coming up next week in our school system. Dr. White, would you like to share anything on that?
Yes, and we're not adding stress.
No.
As I've been told, we're not going to do that. But next week, we're going to start milestones testing, which is going to be end of grade tests, end of course tests. And yes, they are high stakes tests. And so we used the analogy yesterday of athletic competition, and we want our students, that's our main players. We want them to come prepared to play. We want them to come prepared to perform on the test, and we're expecting them to do well. So I know our teachers have worked hard in preparing our students.
Yep.
I just hope everybody's playing together as we get ready to show everyone how well we're going to do on this test. So I just, once again, I'm excited. I'm just really looking forward to the results that we're going to get back. And I'd like to thank our teachers for working so hard and getting to prepare our students ready for the test. And I know the students are going to perform well.
I mean, and when we get to go into schools together, when I get to go, and I know Mr. Parker and his coaches and his team, we're seeing amazing things.
Yes.
Y'all, guys, this is awesome. Our students are engaged. They're excited to be there. You're doing a great job, and we're excited for you. But I'm just curious, Dr. White, which 2 teams did you reference yesterday? Which upcoming game did you reference?
Okay, I used the analogy of college football. I love college football. And, of course, I'm a big Alabama fan. Now, I will pull for Georgia as long as they're not playing Alabama. But I used the Alabama-Georgia game back when they played for the SEC championship, and I said something like, well, I hope our kids play like Alabama, not Georgia, because, Georgia got beat. So I'm hoping...
Throwing that in there.
Yes. So I'm hoping they'll play that way. They'll perform that way when they take the test. I know they will. It's going to be good.
But they'll be performing even better if they perform like Georgia in the national championship game and like they're going to do in September.
Okay, September's going to be a date. I want everybody to remember this. We got a little bet going. Who's September 28th, I think it is. Alabama, Georgia in Tuscaloosa. So I'm just hoping we beat Georgia again like we always do. But who knows? We don't know until we play the game.
And if Georgia wins, I will be giving Dr. White some Georgia gear, and he will be wearing that the Monday, I guess that's September 30th.
Yes, I'll be wearing it. I sure will.
And on the flip side, I will be wearing Alabama.
I think you're going to be out wearing Alabama stuff. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, stay tuned, everyone. But thank you again. We hope you have a wonderful next couple of weeks. Graduation and end of the year celebrations are happening. We can't wait to see them all. May 11th, mark it down. You guys are great. Thank you, Dr. White.
Thank y'all.
We appreciate it.
You.